on MSG last night, first of all, Jayson has not got his MRI back yet. I think we all want to send our best wishes to him and best luck to him on that. He's a great guy. He's a good friend of Trey's. We've done a bunch of stuff with him on the show. So I'm just sort of all wishing for the best there. Trey, what was your thought? I talked to you right after the game. What was your thought on the Knicks in general and just the comeback kids at this point? Because the third quarter was sort of like what they've been doing this entire playoffs.
Yeah, I think we saw like how powerful of an offense they have as well because they matched Boston's heavy hits with more heavy hits as well as Jalen Brunson. He was just phenomenal. Like he's been really, really good this entire playoff series. Just his time as a Knick in general, he's been very good. And, he showed that in that third quarter when him and Jayson Tatum were just going back and forth. And it was just like, I'm just watching the game. I'm just like, damn. Like all these shots, like the shot making in that game was incredible. And then Mikal also played really big for them as well. And I think that's the thing with Boston. Like they needed somebody else to, really step in and, help, withstand Jalen and Mikal, hooping. And then OG hit a big shot as well at the end of in the fourth quarter as well. So, it's tough because, what people are taking out of that game is, Jayson Tatum getting hurt. And then, hopefully it's not as bad as what it looked like. But it's just, I'm sure it's like the air out of the garden. And, it's just sad because, he's such a great player. And you never want anything like that to happen to anybody. So, prayers up for him as well.
Can we talk about Mikal's mid-range for a second? Can you explain, and we're a little biased, obviously, on this show, but can you explain the degree of difficulty of getting that shot off consistently over a guy like Kristaps and the percentage he shoots it at?
I mean, well, he shoot it all the way up here. So, like, when he shoot it above his head and he already 6'7", like, you're not getting to that shot. And that was something that's something that he actually talked to me about when he first got to Brooklyn. He was talking about how, the biggest things that he saw towards the end of his tenure in Phoenix, like those times when Book was hurt, he was like, I just got to find a way to get to my spot because I'll be able to shoot over anybody. So when he got to Brooklyn, he worked on just getting to his spots, like in the mid-range, being able to shoot over people. And so now when he's with the Knicks and he doesn't have to do that every single possession, he saves it and he brings that when necessary. And they needed it for him, at the end of the game and, in the third quarter and the fourth quarter as well.
How important is that for a player to be able to get to their spots? Because I feel like people don't necessarily understand how key that is because people will be like, ooh, that's a bad shot. And it's like, no, I'm kind of trying to set this up. If I can get to my spot and hit this, that sets up my drive and everything else.
It just separates people because, I think the biggest thing in the NBA is probably shot creation, and you see that in the playoffs. And so if a player works on getting to a certain spot and he knows the defender's not going to block it, at that point it's really just about if he's making or missing it. Like that's really it. Because people are too good and offense always is going to be great. Like great offense is always going to be great defense. Like it's not baseball. So you have to figure out a way to just get to your spot and get to a place where that the defender's not going to be able to stop you from getting there. And I'm going to be able to hit this shot. So it's super important. It separates guys from being good and being great players.
Who do you think besides the obvious you look at as the best at just that particular skill?
Other than the obvious of Katie, that's what you were trying to say, babe?
Yeah, other than the obvious of the 10-time All-Stars and MVPs, and it's like, Shea can get to his spot. Like who are the people who you look at as just like they can do this all night long?
To an extent, Nembhard really, like, I know he's going to get to that mid-range. Like, it. And he gets to it, he's going to bump you. And it don't really matter. It doesn't really matter what you are doing as a defender. Like, he's going to bump you. I mean, I know it's a little different because, like, with layups and stuff like that, and then, like, short jumpers. But I feel like he really does a good job of getting to where he wants to on the court.
Nekias, what did you think about the game last night?
Oh boy. Well, outside of the cloud to kind of end it, it was an interesting battle for me. And like Steve and I were watching the game yesterday, and I tossed the question to him again, it was like, hey, how do you feel about New York's offense right now? Because I guess like zooming out from the series, what's kind of stood out, the Knicks have been able to have these massive comebacks in the fourth and they win, but it's kind of taken them a while to get going, and they ultimately haven't been able to bend Boston's defense consistently. And getting to the end of the game four, like it honestly just did not matter. Like it felt like as Boston was physical off ball and as they were leaning to the switching, Jalen Brunson was still just able to score at will. Like felt like there was still a lot of space for him. Boston clearly didn't want to put two on the ball against Jalen Brunson and open up catch and shoot threes or open up cuts and stuff like that. And ultimately, if you have a star level guard that can just take that and say, okay, fine, if you're going to give me this space and give me these one-on-ones, conceptually it makes sense. Let's limit these catch and shoot opportunities, but I'm still really good and you're giving me a bunch of space. And so watching Jalen Brunson kind of cycle through Derek White, random drive against Drew Holiday, if he sees a big good look, like there was a possession, I think in the third quarter, he ended up missing the shot. New York goes double drag pretty much with an empty side. He gets to the right side. Kristaps is guarding the second screener, and it's just dropped for him. And it's a pull-up for Jalen Brunson. He misses. I'm just like, hey, man, these are a lot of comfortable looks for someone who's really good. So, like, I had these thoughts in the back of my head, like, how much are they really bending Boston's shell, or how much are they breaking that shell? But if the shot making is going to be this is kind of what the Knicks need. And something that we talked about heading into the series was pathway for New York, defend well enough, make sure this game's close in the fourth. Jalen Brunson can then do his thing. And as we have seen multiple times in the series at this point, once Jalen Brunson hits the fourth quarter, you're just not going to be able to guard him. Like Boston may have to consider sitting some doubles at some point just to make someone else beat them. I wonder if that's a minor tweak that we see in game 5. But the Knicks have done they did a really good job in that game 4. Jalen Brunson specifically saying, okay, if it's going to be 1-on-1 or 2-on-2, they're going ball screens, we just have to punish them. And they did.
Well, I was going to say, I think one of the things in the playoffs is we talk a lot about schemes and adjustments. Sometimes it's just beating your matchup and making the plays at the right time. And we've seen that in other series before, like Jimmy against Milwaukee, where it doesn't actually matter who's guarding me. I'm going to make these plays and we're going to consistently score. I thought that third quarter where the Knicks just kept scoring and Jalen Brunson attacks Al, Cat attacks Al. Now they're getting stops on the other end. Now they can, you talk about their tempo in the half court. Well, we can just get up quicker, and now we can just get you not in a set defense. We can kind of play out of that. And with Jalen Brunson scoring 14 in the quarter, that becomes the hub. Well, now, okay, we can kind of get what we want and how we want to get to it. It was interesting, though, because that first half, Boston, once again, kind of did all the things they needed to do as far as, hey, we're going to make these threes. We're going to move the ball. The drives are back on the table. You got to guard us. And so the Knicks just kind of consistently staying around, which they've always done this whole series where, okay, we get a bucket here. We get a couple stops here. You're not going to separate all the way. Then you talk about the fourth. Like, I hate that injury happened. But the Knicks had kind of put this game right back in that different box. So all the things that Boston did good defensively, how much does it matter in the fourth? Like, it's Jalen Brunson time. It's cat time. And now we're kind of able to defend in a different way. Mikal Bridges hitting big shots. OG hitting shots. Like, they become a different team in that fourth. And especially when you're that close to getting that win number 3 and win number 4, you just play a different way.